Wages started being garnished for student loans last Friday. Now people are starting to actually feel the effects of it. We got to talk about what's going on.
Told me what to expect as far as student loan payments of student loan.
Stay tuned.
Coming out of grad school, I had $150,000 worth of student loans. This is what I wish someone had told me what to expect as far as student loan payments. The starting salary for physical therapists around where I lived was ranging between $65,000 to $75,000.
And you should never borrow more than you're going to get in your first year's income for the degree you're getting into the career field you're going into.
As a new graduate. Luckily for me, when the time I graduated, student loans were paused at the moment, so I really took advantage of that time period and paid as many as I could so that I would have less to pay interest on when it did resume. So having $150,000 worth of loans, the minimum monthly payments were roughly...
See, there we go. She immediately borrowed what she got in her first year. This is what's going to happen. And then you're going to have trouble paying that back. Are you going to, that's going to shock you? That's not shocking. She's very casual. She's very casual about it. But that's not shocking at all.
$1,200-ish. I don't remember because it was a long time ago. Currently, I have $95,000 worth of student.
Well, she has been hitting them for 2 years, 2.5 years. I will say that. Good for her. Good for her. She's hyper focusing on it.
Student loans left, and my minimum monthly payments are around $400 something. However, if you have the means to, I highly recommend to pay way more than just the minimum.
Yeah.
I strive to pay at least 3 to 4 times of my monthly minimum. Pick a plan that works for you. You already have a head start by even asking and caring about your student loan payments. Yes, they suck.
Completing college.
Got this.
So the current job market has me worried, especially for minorities who are completing college. As a first
especially, here we go. All right, out of the gate. We're going out of the gate, victim. Guys, if you're a minority graduating college, is terrifying. Let's find out why.
generation immigrant, my parents didn't have a lot of knowledge about college. I ended up signing for a bunch of loans when I went to pharmacy school.
Yeah, welcome to literally basically anyone. Listen, trust me, as an American born with American parents, here's the thing. Nobody fucking knows anything about personal finances in this country. Have you seen the analytics about personal finances in this country? Most people can't cover a 1 month emergency, a $500 emergency. Most don't have a decent retirement. Most have credit card debts. Nobody fucking knows. My parents didn't know anything about it, and I borrowed as much student loans as I absolutely could, as much and long as I could, because they had no fucking idea. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're an immigrant. No offense. In fact, oftentimes the analytics that we see with immigrants is that they do better. They work harder. They become more informed because there's much more at stake. So I don't want to hear that.
And I have about $140,000 worth of student loan debt.
Which is a choice.
Half of that is private student loan debt.
Private. Half is private. So $70,000 of private Sallie Mae student loan debt. Yeah, that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard. Need to normalize having an index fund? Yeah, sure.
Which cannot be forgiven under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Act, and which I don't even know.
Which is now gone anyway. Like it's killed, or Safe Plan's gone. Well, now, okay. Any kind of student loans you borrow now only have a couple repayment options. So
will exist anymore under the student administration. So when I graduated, I started panicking, and I had a $1,200 a month payment just for my private.
Just for the private. Just for the fucking private. That's unsustainable. You don't get anywhere with that.
Student loans, that's not including my federal student loans. I had to figure out how to refinance, and when you are trying to refinance, you need to qualify with income, and clearly my income was not supporting the amount.
So why'd you go and get a degree that doesn't come with an income that made getting the degree worth it and borrowing for that degree worth it?
Of loans that I had taken out. Very frustrating for me to figure out, and I hope that girls that are, first generation immigrants.
Sorry, just girls. First generation male immigrants? Okay. This person is one of the most miserable people you could ever be around. They're so divided. They're so gender divided. They're so race divided. They are so hyper focused on their own little niche. The colorblind society that we all, wanted to see. People like her, these performative motherfuckers, are the complete opposite now. They're the complete opposite. They have to be uber segregated and victimy. It's crazy. Yeah, not girl math. Yeah, I guess it's only girl math. It's the only one allowed.
can do a proper cost benefit analysis. I know that's hard to ask for when you're 17 and 18 years old, but please talk to other people. Again, I didn't have cousins here. I didn't have family here.
Well, student counselors need to be more informed about student loan debt, the institutions that people are considering going to, and the types of debt that people will be borrowing, and the return on the degree that they're actually going for.
I didn't have anyone to reference. I am the oldest child. Again, it's not everybody's case. My husband has a very different background from me. He did
Wow, she actually married a man, an evil male. Surprised.
his undergrad at Columbia University. His parents paid for his schooling, so he comes from a place of privilege, which I wish I could have related to, but I can't. Sorry, I got distracted. I was doing my makeup. But what I'm just saying is, if you can, always...
Can we talk about why student loan debt is the way it is? Well, it's a never-ending thing because good intentions, right? This is one of those government programs where it's such good intention. School costs money. Even back when it started, school costs money. It was much lower. So we say, hey, you can borrow, lower interest. There's forgiveness options. There's more protections. Okay. Oh, school saw that you could just borrow an infinite amount of money. Oh, let's just infinitely raise our prices. Oh, then we raise how much you can borrow in student loans with it. Oh, and it just keeps going. It's just unintended consequences of what was a well-intended program. College should be free? Sure, but if we're talking college should be free, then our college system needs to dramatically change. You don't get to support any and every major. You don't get to have all the administrators. You don't get to have the subsidized sports teams. You know, it's a very, very different situation if we talk about college being free. And also, yeah, nothing is free. It costs something to someone, but you know, he's obviously talking more government paid, like fire department and whatnot. But college would just look very different. Again, if you even think European colleges, which is free, it's incredibly more selective, and you can't just do anything and everything you want, no matter what. Why not cap tuition? Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. I mean, what I would be more down for is some kind of program where it's like, well, if you raise tuition into your university of like 2% over last year's inflation or 1% over last year's inflation or whatever, or annualize over the last decade, then no one's allowed to borrow federal student loans to go to your university. And if people can't borrow federal student loans to go to their university, they ain't getting students. Probably a lot of international students, unfortunately, but now they've capped what people can borrow, even for graduate degrees. So schools are going to be making choices here pretty soon.
Always choose the cheaper college option unless it's a very specialty or niche program, which is what I had thought I was going to do, which is why I chose St. John's University. Do not go to St. John's University.
Well, I still want to know what she did.
The quality of...
Billionaires should have the wealth they stolen reduced to $100 million. What the fuck are you talking about stolen? I don't think you understand how valuations of business in the stock market stolen. I think you're in the wrong chat, my friend. You can't force, if you're going out there and forcing every single, essentially if someone owns 100%, 90% of a company, 10% on the stock, and you're going there and forcing $1 billion company to be worth 100 million, you're fucking over everyone. They're not going to hire. Your retirement account is fucked. I like what that's what are we talking about? That's one of the most wild, stupid takes I've ever heard. Do you think billionaires should exist? I think any public. Okay, I should. Sure. I think that the market decides what a company is worth. People invest. Companies crash and burn. Yeah, I mean, it's just, listen, you have the fact that the middle class has shrunk, right? Well, interesting, the analytics that they oftentimes forget to talk about when they say that is the lower class has also shrunk. The only class that is gaining is actually the upper class, technically. Not companies, individual billionaires. What do you think billionaires are? Billionaires are often a non-realized equity position in a company.
St. John's University education was horrible, and $60,000 or whatever the tuition, base tuition was per year. It was
$60,000 a year. Why the fuck did you go there?
insane. I ended up getting a bachelor's in education. I have enough credits for my bachelor's in pharmaceutical sciences, and I also got a master's in psychology because as a teacher you need to go and get a master's. I got my master's at a much cheaper college this time and a much better college experience. Unfortunately, that college...
How about taxing the rich? Sure. Listen, you can advocate for higher taxes on the rich. That's fine. But when people go with the policy of, hey, make the rich pay their fair share, or hey, the rich should pay taxes. Well, then you're going from, you're already starting from a place of being disingenuous. You can advocate for higher taxes, but you have to acknowledge where we are currently. And where we are currently, have the analytics pulled up, by the way, because this comes up quite oftentimes in these chats. Let me pull this up. Top 1% of income earners pay 40.4% of all income taxes in the United States. Top 5% of earners pay 61% of all income taxes. Top 10% of earners pay 72% of all income taxes. Top 25% pay 90%. Top 25% pay 90% of all federal income taxes. Top 50% pay 97%. Bottom 50% only pay 3%. You can advocate for higher taxes, but to say tax the rich or make them pay their fair share, you're coming from a disingenuous place because you're not actually coming from a place of reality.
Just closed down now, but all I'm saying is if you are a first generation immigrant and you are looking at colleges and you're choosing colleges and you see this current job market, please do your due diligence, do your research, look into fields that are foolproof and that are recession proof, hopefully. And yeah, good luck.
Hey, so this is probably the most vulnerable post I will have ever made in the history of time. And for those of you who this little blue halo is already triggering you, I'm so sorry. But I'm going to hopefully make you feel better. And I'm honestly having a weekly crash out. I need help from you as well. This
200,000, 201,000 is insane. Insane. That is crazy. You know what that person in chat probably isn't willing to recognize is any single time that, let's say, California raised the top income tax. They ended up collecting less taxes after that because people took their income and moved it to somewhere where it wouldn't get taxed. There is a threshold where the more you raise taxes on a certain group of people, the less actually comes in because they just move it to somewhere where they don't have to pay those taxes. People are willing to pay taxes up to a certain point, but we live in a world where anyone can go to fucking even just like Saudi Arabia, Like, I don't know, you're talking about moving to another state. We've had billionaires fleeing the United Kingdom now, which is pretty much their entire tax base. United Kingdom is funded by billionaires and mega millionaires. So you just have to be really smart, and it's not that guy in chat, he seemed to go away. He doesn't recognize that. Like, again, when the new up and coming mayor of New York raises taxes substantially, like, okay, you can advocate for that if that's your opinion. That's fair. But don't be surprised when tax revenue ends up being less because they will go from New York and spend 51% of their time in Florida. As is how it's going to be. 51% of their time in Florida, have their company registered in Florida, and then they'll have a little outlet in New York, but say that the majority of the business is done in Florida. And then all of a sudden, your little performative policy that sounds good, all of a sudden doesn't work. Like, who would have thought? Bruh, I'm shadow banned. No, you're right here.
is how much money I owe in student debt for my physician assistant degree. And before you go ahead and take out
physician assistants make like what, 100 to 150. She borrowed 200. That is definitely rough. Yeah, laugh for that curve. Exactly.
Phrase that is so commonly used. Oh, but you knew how much you were taking out in the beginning. No, a lot of this has to do with interest.
And also, while we're on the conversation, I know this is like different than the segment, and I was kind of looking at countries that are having decent economic expansions across Europe and those that are having consistent like non-expansions, if not declining. The most tax-friendly states for capital gains taxes in Europe are places like Poland, Switzerland, even I think it's Denmark. Yeah, even Denmark. Denmark has a high income tax, but a very, very friendly and competitive capital gains tax. And those countries are getting great tax revenues because people are willing to actually realize their gains in taxes there because it's a reasonable tax. But somewhere where it's unreasonable, like France and Italy, has massive declining tax revenues and their economies are not growing and they're in fact stagnating. In fact, Italy, I would say, is declining. And Poland's going to surpass the UK by 2030, economically wise. So there is just a reality. Again, you can advocate for wealthy people paying more taxes. I'm not even like saying they shouldn't. I'm not doing a moral fucking masturbation. I'm just talking about what statistically works in the end and what happens in the end, because that's all that actually impacts people's lives. You can be performative and you can advocate for something that sounds good and makes you feel like you're the good guy, but all that matters is what actually happens in the end. Poland won't surpass UK. Literally every report that has been done this last year has suggested that it is in fact surpassing the UK economy. Hasn't grown since 2007. Poland's on fire. What are you talking about? So there's just that reality to it. Again, it's not saying rich people shouldn't pay taxes. We're not having that conversation. It's not saying rich people should pay a shit ton of taxes. We're not having that conversation. Those are performative. What actually matters in the end are the real results. And we see people paying more taxes in Denmark, in Poland, even in Switzerland, because they're able to realize their gains there without seeing a lot of money taken away. Where in Italy, France, it gets sucked away. And the UK gets sucked away. That's why all the billionaires and mega millionaires are escaping for Dubai. We just went over that report the other day. It's crazy. So we'll leave the tax conversation. Let's get back to this. But that was a fun little tangent.
Let me guess. You're just using an investing app that doesn't invest in you. It is time to change that. Right now, Webull is offering up to a 3.5% match when you open an IRA with them. That is real money going into your retirement, not just points or coupons. And that's just the start. Deposit $100 and you get 30 days of Webull Premium. Anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 sitting around in your account, move it to Webull and get $200 in cash. And if you worked your way up to $5 million, that's $30,000 in your account just for moving it over. It is not just about the perks though. Webull provides the tools that serious investors want as well. TradingView integration, real-time data, zero commission trades. It actually works on all your devices. And now through September 30th, you can stack even more. Get a $100 cash bonus for a $2,000 deposit, plus a 2% cash back on all deposits, and a 30-day premium voucher, and a 4% APY booster on any uninvested cash. It doesn't get better than this, so stop overpaying for a platform that gives you nothing back and make the switch to Webull. Go to Webull.com/K/Caleb or hit the QR code or the link below. Let's get back to the show.
Accruing while I am in a hell of a limbo of what we like to call administrative forbearance, trying to get...
How much is going to the military? Again, about 10%. The vast majority in the United States are going to social services. About 10% is going to interest on debt, but 10% is going to military.
Into the SAVE
Defense,
plan.
specifically.
So I worked with a student loan counselor after I graduated, and I was told to consolidate all of my Direct Plus grad student loans to be one loan so that I could apply to the SAVE repayment plan. Right as soon as I started and submitted my application was when all of the chaos happened in the courts, where they just can't get their head out of their ass and figure.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they did. The court said no forgiveness, and the courts are also good with pretty much getting rid of the Department of Education. And the courts are also, as far as we know, okay with the new payment programs and cap on student loan borrowing.
Figure out what they're doing. And so I never actually got into the SAVE plan. And so
and the courts were okay with getting rid of it as well.
Have been accruing interest at a 7% rate.
She can't, these federal loans, she is not going to be able to get them expunged via bankruptcy, Miss Kaler, but this is a good question. You'd think, right? You'd think, but nope.
I've not had to pay my monthly payment. My monthly payment has been $0 because of a previous tax return when I was making $0 income as a student. But still, this amount is a literal noose around my neck.
It is, but you chose to borrow. What's the median salary for her job? Median first year salary for... Oh, I struggled spelling the word physician. Top 1% owns 30% of the wealth in the country. The bottom 50% owns like 3%. Well, that's why the bottom 50% doesn't pay any taxes either. They pay about 3% of the taxes. What did you say? And that's probably why, right? Okay. Median wage, annual wage for all PAs is $133,000. This is way too much to borrow for that type of income. Where entry-level PA about $107,000. She borrowed basically double. And if you can't borrow less to become a PA, then you shouldn't go to school to become a PA, and the market would correct it and would pay higher because there would be a heavy demand for them. But people want to be a PA, and they're willing to borrow what it takes. So right now we're seeing it cost more than it is worth to actually get. to go into.
And I don't think I will ever pay this off. I fear that I will not be able to ever own a home.
A home's going to be further away for you because you do need to pay this off because it is a big number of risk over your head. Maybe pay it down to 75,000 or 100,000, and then you can go a little slower. But that first 100 at a minimum needs to be knocked out because it is risk over your head.
As someone still earning 6 figures salary, let alone children, I would love and aspire to have a child someday. But this really, I don't want to say like makes me suicidal, but like,
okay, whoa,
it truly
wow
makes it really hard to get out of bed every morning. And
okay, with her income though, her minimum monthly payment is probably like 2,200. Like, yeah, it's chunky, but she should be able to live relatively lean for a while and keep knocking on this. And even a standard program would be 10 years to pay that off of that payment. You have PA's physician's assistant, exactly.
And I know I'm not alone. I know I don't even have it that bad, but I'm truly asking as a cry for help, like how you compartmentalize the stress of something like this. No.
Well, the best way to deal with stress of some kind of debt is to finally like actually realize it, acknowledge it, and then put together a payment plan and a budget around your life in order to meet that payment plan. Then all of a sudden you'll feel like you're in control instead of it being in control of you. And then that stress is more mitigated, not 100% gone. The only way to do that is to get rid of it, but helps mitigate it.
Knowing that you'll never, ever get out of debt because it would take an act of God to take this amount away. And people repay the...
Well, no, I mean, it could just be you paying off your student loans, but I appreciate that. We have $340,000 to student loans, $3,700 per month payment, $1,700 for interest. But you guys are making a good income of $210. Probably borrowed a little too much, but it looks like you guys are... at least on your way to being able to hopefully tackle that. That is pretty heavy.
People loan multiple times over in situations like me, but they never get rid of their debt because of the system at hand. And that is what is so fucked about student loans for people in advanced degrees like doctor, nurse, anesthetist, nurse practitioner.
It is hard, but you can choose to borrow the same amount for an advanced degree that makes more money as well. You did specifically choose physician's assistant.
Physician assistant. What else can I think of? Any degree program that takes...
Like she'd be borrowing similar amount but make more as a veterinarian these days with a signing bonus that would cover half her student loans is what we're seeing out in the market. You know, it's pretty crazy. Thanks Ultimax for the Hammer Elite and Paper for the upgrade to Hammer Elite. Thank you guys.
Multiple, loans and at least 6 figures to take out to go to these programs. And I did this to get a better life for myself, get a salary that
Then you should have chose a degree that had a better return on investment. You still choose this one.
Amounted to something for my future family, and yet this is what happened. And a lot of it wasn't even the fault of my own because I had no way of predicting that this would happen. Had no way of knowing that SAVE would not be around in the future. PSLF is my only option. I do work at a
not anymore
501c3, but even then the payment...
Oh, actually yes, sorry.
Payment is like pushing almost $1,000 a month, and that will soon become even unaffordable for me. So yeah, I'm literally at a loss.
So I wanted to figure out how much money exactly I was paying off in student interest for just my federal loans. So I did a little investigation. Keep in mind that I have federal student loans, my husband has federal student loans, and then I have refinanced 2 of them. So in total...
No, she's refinanced her federal. Listen, I understand it from an interest rate minimum monthly payment perspective, but oftentimes when you refinance to a private student loan, you really do get rid of protections that you have with federal student loans.
We have about $154,000 in student loans, but my federal student loans are about $77,000, and it's made up of 4 like smaller loans.
Yeah.
Anyways, I calculated it, and guess what? I pay $396.
No, she's on a weird program because that would not be the minimum monthly payment that is required to at least meet interest. Her minimum monthly payment would be about $800 in order to pay it off in the standard 10-year program. She's on an income-based thing. And that's not always beneficial. especially now with the new programs. That's not always beneficial because interest is just going to keep going.
Dollars a month in interest every month. That's how much it accrues in interest every month. My minimum payment is of $875, and that means that about half the money that I'm paying just goes to interest, and then the other half goes to principal. This
Okay, so it actually is $396 for interest and $875 for the total payment. Gotcha, found it.
is why it's really important when you're taking out student loans that you know, or at least calculate that you'll be able to have a good enough job to be able to pay these off.
Yes, you should not borrow more than you'll get in your first year of your entry level income is the general suggestion. Not everything's going to be perfect when it comes to that.
Thankfully, I'm able to make the minimum payment, but it just hurts my soul to think about how much money and interest I'm paying each month.
No, I'm sure.
What that money could be going to.
Hi there. I took out loans for college and I owe it all back. I made a conscious decision to get a bachelor's degree. I also chose to get a higher education and I owe it. I don't have a problem with it. I want to pay off my student loans. The problem that I have is my interest rate alone is $1,400 a month. That's
not an interest rate. I get the sentiment. Also, how much does she fucking borrow for that?
not even me making a payment towards my actual loan. That's the problem. And I
well,
chose
sure, but likely because of the amount you borrowed. Yeah, shocker. Even at a small interest rate, the more and more you borrow, the higher the interest amount is going to accrue on a number basis.
to go back into teaching because I'm taking advantage of the public.
Yeah, but if you're going into teaching, you're probably not making what is actually a good income for what you borrowed.
Loan forgiveness program, but my teaching salary, along with my loans and my $1,400 interest rate.
It's not an interest rate, but okay.
They don't match.
Well, no shit, but you're choosing. You are taking the path of paying it small on your student loans, but also making a lot less so that you have the chance to get it forgiven.
They don't go together. I'm just a regular mom, 3 kids, just living an average life.
None of that matters. You made the choices to do the things that you're doing and the job that you have.
That's the problem. And this is where people are getting upset about, is that they are taking out these loans. The interest rates are so high. People are struggling
She didn't say what her interest rate is, and I don't think she knows what an interest rate is.
to pay them. They're just struggling just to live in this economy.
I always thought that the people who complained about student loans were the ones that had really high loans, that it's like you're never going to pay it off, so why are you even trying type of thing. So I was never worried about interest, right? Mine is only about 17,000, so I was like, I'm going to pay it off within the time frame. I was like,
what's the time frame?
I don't have to worry about interest because mine isn't that bad. That's literally what I thought. So today I was like, you know what, let me just sit down and do the math because I've been making payments, so my loan should be going down by a lot. That's not really what happened. I did the calculations and my beginning balance was $16,417.
Yes, more is going to go to interest at first and then more to the principal later on. Welcome to debt.
I have made 6 payments. 6
The
payments
fuck was that?
of $180, a total of $1,070. My current balance is $15,827. It has been reduced by $590.
Yeah, but you look young, so you're probably just started repaying them, right? I mean,
Which means $480 of
what's the average goal tuition per semester? I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know the average that people borrow is about $40,000. And 40% of people that borrow student loans drop out before they even get a degree.
those other dollars went into interest. Which means that I have literally paid half of interest.
Yeah.
Half of my payments are going into interest and half of that is going into my balance. And the fact that my beginning balance is $16,400, it's really not that much. But the fact that it's not moving, it means that I'm never going to end up paying this off. This is why the entire system is just a scam. Like, how is...
Well, I don't know about that. You're still choosing what you're doing. You're choosing to borrow. You're choosing what school to go to, what degree to get, what job to go into. Okay. Caleb has a student loan. Yes, that is true. I still have my federal student loans because they're like less than 3% interest. So there's no mathematical reason to pay them off beyond their minimum monthly payment. instead of investing.
That school education is already so high to begin with. And then on top of that, the loan companies take such advantage of you that none of it makes any sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's their product. I don't know what taking advantage means to her. I feel like that's probably kind of on scale with like a buzzword, but certainly that is their product to sell for sure. And they will lend you because you can't really get rid of it via bankruptcy almost as much as you want. So,
y'all, this is not good. If you are a person who in the future is planning to take out student loans, please listen. So as a reminder, I started this TikTok to help students find unique ways to fund graduate education.
Yeah.
Because I was sick and tired of seeing students get into hundreds of thousands of dollars
I
of
don't
debt,
need a PSA.
and they were knees can take out.
I don't even know if this is gonna hit the right audience, to be honest, but
It just did.
shot. Hi guys, my name is Molly
Why do people speak in whispers? Why do people speak in absolute whispers?
Chappelle. Know me as Molly Volley, especially on this account. My lovely followers, today I'm going to be talking about Sallie Mae.
Oh, she's a cunt. Sallie Mae is just an absolute whore.
I have a little predicament.
I had some Sallie Mae. I had $12,000 to Sallie Mae. It was one of the first debts I tackled.
I'm a first generation college student and no one warned me about them. So I have the exact number. I have $11,138 in debt with Sallie Mae. Now this is from 4 semesters.
Wait, how much?
$11,138
Yeah, it's chunky. It's about what I had.
in debt with Sallie Mae. Now this is from 4 semesters in college, but it is not great. And I know that it wasn't great in the first place because the interest rates were so high, but they're the only one that approved my loan because I don't have a cosign. So if anyone could help me out, truly, honestly, would be
Yes, pay off this debt fast.
lovely. My comments are open, but
I just solved it. Did I just solve it? Chad, I think I just solved it.
here's what I do know. I do know that literally hundreds and thousands of people are in debt with them, and they hate them because of their interest rates and because their refinancing options are so low.
Yeah, but you can refinance with a different private student loan provider or even take out a personal loan and pay it off. But yeah.
And I'm so glad that I learned about this before I got into the 50s, the $100,000. There's people that have gotten their BFAs and they're $186,000 in the
For Bachelor of Fine Arts.
hole with Sallie Mae. Everyone keeps saying refinance, refinance, refinance. Refinancing with Sallie Mae without declaring
It doesn't have to be with Sallie.
bankruptcy is like next to impossible, I've heard. So like, what do I do?
HR consultant.
It doesn't have to be with Sallie. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be. Hey, Caleb Hammer Stream fans, make sure you get your financial score for free. Take the assessment at calebhammer.com or dollarwise.com. It's free. See where you stand in the world of finances.